Hey, Genderqueer Chat, Joe here, and I am so sorry, but I missed a week. So last week, I feel like it's been forever, but it's actually only been a couple of weeks since I last chatted with you. But in those 2 weeks, my friend Paloma came to visit me, which is why there was Canadian flags all over my house, because my American friend, came to visit. And my brother-in-law died. This was the death I was forewarning about. So he did die, and it was a hectic, psychotic week. There was all kinds of bereavement activities. I'm the only person in my family who drives. Stanley, what are you doing? Oh, he's got his eye on the plant. That's a plant from the funeral home. She's still got the sticker on it. Anyway, and it's Sunday night, and it's 10:50, 5 to 11. I'm getting this in under the wire. But this week's topic is, have you noticed any groups or subgroups within the queer community? I've got to keep an eye on Stanley. Stanley! That have received unfair treatment, oppression, or misrepresentation. Have you experienced such treatment yourself for an aspect of your life experience? Gender, sexuality, appearance, race. How do you think you would deal with these issues at a personal or social level? And bonuses, are you afraid of heights? I'll do the bonus real quick. No, not really, but sort of. I don't like heights, but I can tolerate them if I'm thrown in that situation. I deal. But I don't crave, like I don't go skydiving and stuff like that. But then like recently when my friend Paloma was visiting, we went to go see some of the waterfalls in Hamilton, and there was one that was like a real weird precipice, and she was too scared to go towards it, but I kind of stood there. I wanted to see over the edge. Okay, so have you noticed any groups or subgroups within the queer community that have received unfair treatment, oppression, or misrepresentation? I think all groups and subgroups within the queer community receive unfair treatment, oppression, and misrepresentation. And I agree with all the other posters this week who were suggesting that trans folk, in particular, are oppressed in a way that I think LG and B people are not. Now, for the record, I do not identify as LGBT or Q. So it's hard for me to answer this question a little bit because subgroups within the queer community would imply that I'm kind of in the queer community, or that I have experience with it, or that I have the right to even talk about it, when I don't know that I do, because I don't know. When I first read this question, the first thing I thought was women. That was the first thing I thought, is women are oppressed, and misogyny is everywhere, and unfair treatment, yes, unequal pay for work of equal value. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on, which is one of the reasons why I always hated being a woman. I hated everything about it. It seemed like an unfair, just a total, like something, why would I choose that when I could choose the alternative, or choose not to participate in anything female or feminine, or not that it was really a choice, but you know what I mean? Like, I really have kind of excused myself from kind of the lifestyles that a lot of women lead, and as a result, women are discriminated against a lot of times based on the lifestyles they lead, namely having children. And usually when a woman chooses to have a kid, she has to leave her job, or take a pay cut, or reduced hours, or be financially dependent on someone else, and this type of thing. Have I experienced such treatment myself? Yes, as a woman. I was grossly underpaid for a good chunk of my life. There are no promotions to be had for women in my department, and that is kind of a given. I think there are several of the middle management and I have had this conversation, and although there are some women who have raised through the ranks, they're not part of the old boys club. They don't participate in the golf tournaments and stuff like that, and they don't do the kinds of things that the men do. It's a very, very sexist work environment. Yeah, and it drives me crazy. It's driven me crazy my whole life. But again, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here because women is not part of the queer community. But I think as an unconventional woman, I'm treated particularly, well, I don't know about that, because I get what I want a lot of the time, and that has to do with my kind of bullheaded attitude and masculine way about me. Like, just, this is an expression in my department. You ask for forgiveness. You don't ask for permission. You ask for forgiveness. So you do it first and you ask questions later. And that's a very masculine way of behaving, because women typically will ask their boss for permission to do something, whereas I'll just do it. And if my boss gets mad at me, I suffer the consequences, but it's no big deal. Like, I wouldn't not do it first, you know what I mean? And I had to learn that behavior. Again, I'm getting off topic, I'm sorry. Subgroups within the queer community. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it says here gender, sexuality, appearance, race. Have you experienced such treatment yourself for an aspect of your life experience? Gender, yes. Sexuality, the fact, I don't know that my sexuality is nobody's business. Most people know that I am perceived as heterosexual as far as I'm female-bodied and I'm attracted to male-bodied people. So in that way, I think, like, I'm not discriminated against because people think I'm a lesbian, but people do know that I have an alternate sexuality and that I'm asexual or that I'm single and that I don't have a boyfriend and I don't have children. And that has been a huge part of how I think, in fact, that is my biggest, if I had to put all the eggs in a basket, I would pull that one out and say that's the main one. I've said this in previous videos that I identify as child-free almost more than I identify as genderqueer. My child-free status, the fact that I've chosen not to have children, is a huge part of who I am. I run a child-free discussion board. Pardon me, I just gave it up this year. But I ran it for 12 years. I ran it since 2000. And, you know, most of my friends are in the child-free community. A lot of them are married or straight or cisgendered, but they are child-free, and that's what we have in common, and that's the thing that binds us. Because I think in a world where people are fixated on families and children and child rearing and parenting and, you know, people who identify as a mother or a father first and everything else second, they don't get a person like me and they never will. So that's the biggest thing I think that sets me apart from most of the world. And yeah, I could see myself going on. I remember Andrea's video was 2 parts because this question is so intense. However, I don't have a lot of time because it's already 10:57 on Sunday night. But I will try and touch on just a few more top parts here. Let's see. How do you think that we could deal with these issues at a personal and social level? Well, the biggest thing for me is that I just act like I own the place. I act like there's nothing wrong with the lifestyle I've chosen. And it's not an act. It's an actuality is what it is. There is nothing wrong with the lifestyle I've chosen, and I behave as such. So I don't ever make excuses for who I am. I don't apologize for who I am. I don't act like there's anything wrong with it. A lot of times I kind of play that little devil's advocate where I'll say things that kind of imply everybody's child-free or everybody lives an unconventional life or nobody takes their husband's last name. Like, it's always kind of weird. I'll make remarks as if it's strange that they did. And this is received very strange, you know, not poorly, but I think people think I'm nuts. And that's okay. That's okay because I like to rattle people's belief systems and make them think twice about the status quo and why they've done the things they've done. And, you know, it shouldn't just be understood that this is how women are and this is how men are and this is how straight people are and this is how lesbian people are. I'll tell you a funny story. Oh shit, that's my laundry. I have a thing where I have to drain it. So I've only got a couple more minutes. Yeah, otherwise it'll like spill over and flood my basement. But at the funeral home yesterday, on Friday, my sister's boss, she works in a bank, and this is like the CEO of the bank. It was like, he's a grand poobah, she was calling him. He showed up at the bank, and I got into some like insane conversation with him. It was so much fun. And he thinks I'm a weirdo. He thinks I'm such a weirdo. And he was I was referring to my ex in some capacity. I'd written an article about being single, and I had said that I found the right person, and that person is Joe, and that I have to spend the rest of my life with Joe. And anyway, I was going on in this vein, and he thought that was so weird. Like, he kind of implied, like, if I've found somebody and that somebody's me, then am I a lesbian? So the way he phrased it was, he said, when I was referring to my ex, he said, was it an ex-boyfriend? And I said to him, in all seriousness, I said, my ex was male-bodied, yes. And he burst into laughter, and he started saying, male-bodied? What's that? And I said, well, it means he had a male body. And then he said, well, was he a man? And I said, yes, he was male-identified, and he had a male body. That means he's cisgendered. And this banker dude, stuffed shirt with a tie, probably in his 50s, has no idea what I'm talking about. And I explained cisgendered versus transgendered, male-bodied versus female-bodied versus male-identified versus female-identified. I explained the whole damn thing to him in the funeral home, and he loved it. He kept saying, oh, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use that. He goes, what is it again? Male-bodied, male-identified. I'm male-bodied and I'm male-identified. And I said, that's right, that's right. That's how you should refer to yourself. And it was just a hoot because I know sometimes getting these ideas through to people whose, you know, this is not their reality. You do it gently and you do it one little baby step at a time. Okay, catch you guys next week. Have a good one.